Here is the architecture of our system. 4 instances are used, as expected. The whole system could be divided into 3 services by their responsibilities. They are the Twitter harvesting and processing service, the database service and the web visualizing service. Now I will illustrate how we built up the whole system service by service. Firstly, 2 instances are allocated for the Twitter harvesting and processing service, which are named Harvester 1 and Harvester 2. These 2 instances will pull tweet contents with metadata from the Twitter database to the local CouchDB database via their official tweet API. After harvesting the raw data, the harvester will also pre-process the original data to filter all the irrelevant data and retain the data that is related to our topic. In this process, to avoid duplicate tweets being streamed, we set Twitter ID as each document's unique identifier so that CouchDB will avoid a doc with same Twitter ID to enter into the database. And here comes the data part. Considering that data is obtained in a long and continuous time, the database should be equipped with our system to store it. Here no SQL database CouchDB is used to achieve high availability of data, partition tolerance and eventual consistency. 3 out of 4 instances are used to form a cluster. One is chosen as the main DB server, the other 2 databases will be deployed in 2 harvesters. These are the subordinate CouchDB databases to the main database server and they will periodically run push tasks between main CouchDB database. As for the instance running the main CouchDB service, it will also be in charge of handling view requests issued from the web server. The last instance is used as the web server, which is built to provide data visualizing services for end users to get summarized knowledge through an intuitive graphical user interface. Such processes require low response time, thus we were seeking a delicate but easy way to achieve this. At last, Django REST framework is chosen. Django is a Python web framework that supports rapid development which provides pragmatic and convenient templates for RESTful design. The data visualization process will produce charts in HTML format based on the views on the CouchDB databases. Those views are set to be refreshed every 24 hours. To show the charts as the analysis results on the website, we make these charts as embedded HTML pages in our template views. Now let me introduce our web front display and our analysis. We tell the stories of the Game of Thrones and Marvel movies in Cine via 2 perspectives. The first perspective is the users. According to the news report, more than 95% of the audience praised Marvel's latest superhero movie Avengers Endgame. Among 7 sins, lust can be defined as a strong love for certain things and sentiment changes. This makes us curious, is there any relationship between lust and the related tweets posted by Cine citizens? Thus, sentiment analysis is conducted. As you can see in our Marvel Topic 1, we compared the sentiment scores of the user tweets related to Marvel movies and the sentiment scores of all of her own tweets. The differences of these 2 scores are calculated to show the level of fluctuation of users' emotion in their tweets related to Marvel compared to their general life. In this figure, about 85% of users have a low-level change, and the proportion of users with big emotional changes are not high. Hence, to some extent we can say the sentiments of Marvel audiences are not influenced much by this series of movies. A similar analysis has been conducted to Game of Thrones audiences in Sydney. As shown in this figure, most of them have a quite high-level sentiment changes when mentioned Game of Thrones. Compare this result with that of Marvel, there is a higher probability that Game of Thrones audiences are more emotion-sensitive than Marvel audiences when they are discussing related content. Now let's come to the second topic of Marvel. We are curious about how the impact of Marvel movies on Cine citizen would change as time goes by. So we calculate the average sentiment scores of tweets over the years to see if there is any orderliness. If the impact decreases, could we assume that people's expectation of Marvel movies become higher and people could be greedy? This bar chart shows that average sentiment of tweets related to Marvel in recent years. As you can see, the impact is positive the whole time. However, an interesting trend can be observed. The scores in 2017 and 2018 have dropped significantly compared to the previous 2 years. Therefore, as the impact of Marvel movies on people's emotion drop, we would assume that people are greedy, that their interest in similar movies seems to become lower. In other words, people's expectations of Marvel movies seem to become higher and higher. Now let's see the second topic of the Game of Thrones. We want to know the trend of the impact of the Game of Thrones series and see whether we could find similar orderliness. As shown in the figure, the impact of Game of Thrones on people's emotion is negative all the time, which is different from that of Marvel movies. However, the value is approaching zero, which means that the impact of the Game of Thrones series on people's emotion is decreasing. Therefore, we could assume that people are becoming indifferent about them.